Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald is an odd movie. As a Potter fan, I loved it, but I can see how newcomers and reviewers could rate it negatively. The whole movie is basically set up for the next few movies, leaving the audience with tons and tons of questions. There's the obvious Aurelius Dumbledore cliffhanger, along with the McGonnagal oddity, and what I'll be focusing on today, the Blood Pact made between Dumbledore and Grindelwald. Hey everyone! Before we can get into any of this, major spoilers for all of Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. This film has had my mind both racing and stumped for the past weeks, as there are so many plot holes that need to be filled in, and yet so few possibilities of what the answers could be. To me, the mystery that trumps all in terms of how this is physically possible is the Blood Pact. Let's dive in. To give a quick recap of what's seen in the movie, we know that Dumbledore and Grindelwald made a type of pact between themselves, seemingly similar to an unbreakable vow when they were teenagers. This is shown in the Mirror of Erised, which already is strange considering that it's basically acting as a pensieve instead of the mirror. This pact was made through the two men cutting their hands with their wands, locking hands, and thereby making an oath saying that they would never fight each other, contained in a magical vial. Grindelwald possesses this vial throughout the movie until Newt's well-known Niffler steals it from him, thus bringing it back to Dumbledore, who is unsure if he can break it or not, as it's the only object keeping the two most powerful wizards from directly fighting. Or is it? Most Potter fans have already realized that the Blood Pact just doesn't make sense, because of the duel that happened in 1899 between Dumbledore, Grindelwald, and Dumbledore's brother, Aberforth, resulting in his sister, Ariana's death. So if Dumbledore and Grindelwald fought in that duel, then how could they have made the Blood Pact beforehand? I mean, the pact is specifically designed to prevent them from fighting against each other, so it's clearly not working very well. This is even less absurd, though, than the chance that the pact was made sometime after the duel, as after Ariana was killed, their friendship was officially over and Grindelwald took off. So what's the solution that can make all of this possible? Well, that's what I've been trying to find for the past week, but I think I have an answer. This could completely change what we think we know about the Fantastic Beasts series and the Dumbledore family history. The vial worn by Grindelwald in the movie is a fake, and the real pact, the one that we see in the mirror, was destroyed years ago in 1899. Of course, a ton of explanation is needed, and allow me to give some. It always seemed odd to me that no one knew who cast the spell that ended Ariana's life in the three-way duel, because it makes it sound like all three of them were using the killing curse, which just doesn't sound right. Dumbledore and Grindelwald were definitely not aiming to kill each other, and the same thing goes for Dumbledore and Aberforth. But if this was the case, wouldn't Dumbledore know that he wasn't the one to kill his sister? In the Deathly Hallows, Aberforth describes the event as, she, meaning Ariana, didn't really know what she was doing, and I don't know which of us did it could have been any of us. But if no one was aiming to kill during that sequence, how did Ariana end up dying? Since we're assuming that she was an Obscurial, we know how powerful she must have been, so I doubt that a simple charm could have ended her life. But what if it wasn't a spell that ended her life? What if it was the breaking of a certain pact? We obviously don't know how a blood pact is broken yet, but I would assume that it works similar to an unbreakable vow in the sense that the punishment of going against it would be death. Once you do go against it, though, the pact is officially broken. Dumbledore and Grindelwald broke their blood pact in 1899 when they fought each other in the three-way duel. But you're probably asking, if acting against a blood pact means death, shouldn't one of them have died in that duel? Yet we see both characters alive and well in 1927, but we do see someone else perish in the duel, Ariana. Think about it, we know that although powerful, Ariana was also incredibly weak and unstable at the time, so it would make sense that when the pact broke, Ariana would be faced with the effect from it, and that being death. She enters the duel right before Dumbledore and Grindelwald specifically start fighting each other, because remember, Aberforth states that Grindelwald was using the Cruciatus curse on him first. There's also the fact that Ariana has similar blood to Dumbledore since they're siblings, making it even more possible that Ariana would die instead of Albus. This would totally explain why both Dumbledore and Aberforth, and maybe Grindelwald too, never knew who specifically killed Ariana. It wasn't a spell cast by one of the three, it was the effect of Dumbledore and Grindelwald breaking their blood pact. But of course, none of this makes sense because we see the pact with Grindelwald, the Niffler, Newt, and Dumbledore throughout Crimes of Grindelwald. But do we? If the pact was broken in 1899, how would that be possible? It's because the pact we see in the movie is a fake made by Grindelwald. The Dark Wizard's whole purpose in this movie is to find and convert Credence to his cause, simply because he's the only one who can match up against Dumbledore. But if he has the Blood Pact preventing them from directly fighting, why would he even need Credence that much? Grindelwald also carries the pact around way too nonchalantly, which is seen by how a Niffler is easily able to steal it. If the pact was so important, wouldn't Grindelwald keep it locked up in a secure location? But it's because the pact is a complete ruse. The real one was broken in 1899, and Grindelwald created a fake to fool the public into thinking that he can't fight against Dumbledore, when in reality he's simply afraid to. Grindelwald knows that Dumbledore is the one wizard who can defeat him, which is why he wants Credence to fight the battle for him. The fake pact is simply an excuse for him and a lie to his followers. This plan is delivered perfectly by Grindelwald, as he has everyone working with him believing that Credence is the only answer to the Dumbledore problem. But does Dumbledore know that the pact is fake? Yes, he does, and when Newt presents it to him on the Hogwarts grounds, he plays it cool, but in reality, he's panicking because he knows that it's fake, but doesn't want to reveal that. It's because Dumbledore still has feelings for Grindelwald, but knows that he can't confess now that he's picked a side. He knows that the pact was broken in the 1899 duel, and knows that there's nothing keeping him from fighting his old friend, except his emotional connection to him. I mean, Dumbledore still sees Grindelwald when he looks into the Mirror of Erised. So when Newt hands him the fake pact, Dumbledore buys time for himself by saying that he'll try to figure out a way to break it. Another thing I thought was odd was that Newt seems to know what a Blood Pact is, but also doesn't seem to know its details. Maybe it's rare magic that hasn't been used in a long time, which is why everyone seems to be in the dark. But to summarize this theory, the Blood Pact made between Dumbledore and Grindelwald was broken during the 3- and then 4-way duel in 1899. The result was the death of Dumbledore's sister, Ariana, who felt the effects of the charm because she was much more weak and fragile than Dumbledore, Grindelwald, and Aberforth, and was also involved in the duel. The vial that we see in the movie is a fake pact replicated by Grindelwald in order to excuse him from not fighting Dumbledore since he's afraid to. Dumbledore finds out about this fake pact when Newt delivers it to him, and he lies, saying that he'll try to find a way to break it while he's really protecting the secret feelings he still has for Grindelwald. Grindelwald is lying because he's afraid to fight Dumbledore, while Dumbledore is lying because he still feels a connection with his childhood friend. Pretty ironic. But this is definitely an explanation for the problems we had with the Blood Pact. Not only that, but it also enhances the story going forward, as many fans would like to see the relationship between Dumbledore and Grindelwald developed. Having a magical vial separating them from fighting seems one-dimensional, and this would be much cooler. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any new Fantastic Beasts or Harry Potter content. I also make videos on Pixar, Laika, Studio Ghibli, Netflix shows, sports, and more, so go check those out as well. Tell me what you thought of the Crimes of Grindelwald and this theory in the comment section. See you later!